What if I told you that after 60, you could fly for less than half of what you're paying right now and actually enjoy the trip more than you did in your 30s? Sounds backwards, right? But it's true, and the travel industry does not want you to know how. Here's the uncomfortable reality. Airlines, hotels, and travel agencies have quietly built a system that assumes older travelers will just put up with it. The delays, the overpriced seats, the uncomfortable layovers. They're betting you'll accept it as the cost of getting older. You shouldn't. We sat down with former flight attendants, travel agents who've worked behind the scenes for decades, and hotel managers who see exactly how the system works. And they handed us 6 travel secrets that airlines genuinely don't advertise. Once you know these, your whole approach to travel changes. This isn't a list of generic pack-light tips. These are real strategies that protect your health on the road, unlock treatment usually reserved for VIP travelers, and can slash your travel costs by up to 70%. And stick around because the 6th secret isn't about booking or packing at all. It's a mindset shift that seasoned 60-plus travelers use to turn travel chaos into part of the adventure. Quick favor before we get into it. Tap that like button and subscribe if you want more of these. Let's get into secret number 1. Here's where most people over 60 get travel prep completely backwards. They obsess over what to pack and skip the one thing that actually protects them, a real health protection plan. That plan starts 70 days before you leave. Why 70? Because that's the window most people miss entirely for getting medically prepared. Book your pre-travel checkup right around this mark. International vaccines can take 4 to 6 weeks to fully kick in, and if your doctor needs to adjust any prescriptions, you want time to test how your body responds before you're actually traveling. While you're at that appointment, ask for what insiders sometimes call a border-ready medical letter, documentation of your conditions and medications written in terms recognized internationally. It sounds like a small thing, but it's often the difference between breezing through security and getting pulled aside for an uncomfortable, drawn-out conversation. Now, medications themselves, this is where even careful travelers slip up. A single pill organizer in your carry-on feels responsible, but ask yourself, what happens if your flight's delayed or your bag gets lost? That's the scenario the pros actually plan for. The move is to split your medication 3 ways. 1 full set stays on your body, in a personal item, never checked, never in the overhead bin. Another portion goes in a separate bag entirely. And the last portion gets distributed elsewhere, as a backup for worst-case international emergencies. There's also a buffer trick most people never think about. Pack 10 extra days of medication beyond your actual return date. That number isn't random. It's roughly in line with how long real-world disruptions like major storms or airline strikes tend to run. And here's one more thing worth knowing. Think your travel insurance already has you covered? Check again. Many policies bury a pre-existing condition clause that can quietly void your claim. One workaround people use. Ask your doctor to document a condition as stable for 90-plus days before you buy the policy. That single note can change how the insurer classifies your health status entirely. Stay with me because secret number 2 could save you real money on your very next flight. Forget what you've heard about booking on a Tuesday. That advice hasn't been true for a while. Airline pricing algorithms don't work that way anymore. What actually matters now is timing your search to what some in the industry call the pricing adjustment window, roughly 54 to 57 days out for domestic flights and 114 to 117 days out for international ones. That's when airlines recalibrate prices to fill seats they're projecting will go empty. Here's a strategy a lot of travelers skip entirely. Instead of booking a round trip as one package, search each direction separately, sometimes even with different airlines. It sounds like more work, but travelers who've tried it have reported meaningful savings compared to the standard round-trip price. And the real insider move? Calling the airline's international booking line directly instead of the main reservation line. Why? International call centers often have different quote authority and can pull up unadvertised senior fares that domestic reps simply can't see on their end. Now let's talk seating, because this changes your entire flight experience. Some in the industry call it the comfort corridor. Rows 10 to 14 on smaller single-aisle planes, and rows 20 to 30 on the larger wide-body jets. These rows tend to hit the sweet spot between noise levels, bathroom access, service priority, and less turbulence. And here's the thing, these are almost never the seats airlines actually point seniors toward. There's another angle too. Try booking near the flight attendant jump seats. Crew members have said passengers seated close to those areas often get a bit more attention and more frequent check-ins, which can matter a lot if mobility is a concern. But there's an even bigger strategy coming up, one that could completely change how you experience the airport itself. Did you know there's a whole set of airport services built for travelers over 60 that almost nobody actually uses? Let me walk you through it. First, skip the standard drop-off entirely. Travel insiders call this the premium access drop-off, specific terminal entry points normally associated with first-class passengers, but actually open to anyone 60 and up. Just tell your driver to use the premium entrance, and you'll bypass the main terminal chaos completely. Here's something most people never find out. Major international airports offer free senior assistance, but it's barely advertised. The key is in how you ask. Request senior transit assistance, not wheelchair service, when you book your flight, and you'll get a dedicated staff member walking you through security, customs, and straight to your gate, without it feeling like a disability service. Think TSA PreCheck is already good. There's an upgrade. When you apply, also ask for known traveler senior status verification. It's not something they advertise, but it flags your boarding pass for expedited screening no matter which line you end up in, even at airports without a dedicated PreCheck lane. And here's a luxury that normally runs around $450, but could already be sitting in your wallet for free. A lot of international credit cards include complimentary airport lounge access, yet the vast majority of senior cardholders never actually use it. Go check your existing cards for travel benefits, specifically lounge access. You might already own this perk and just never knew it. Next up is the secret that prevents the single most common travel disaster for seniors, the one that quietly ruins thousands of trips every year. Travel fatigue hits people over 60 harder than any other age group, but there's a straightforward approach that the travel wellness industry would rather you not know, because it makes a lot of their expensive products pointless. Start with what flight crews sometimes call the 4-2-1 hydration formula. 4 ounces of water every 2 hours, starting a full day before you fly. That specific rhythm keeps you hydrated without sending you to the bathroom every 10 minutes. Pair that with cutting out alcohol and caffeine for the 16 hours before your flight, since both feed into the dehydration cycle that causes the worst of that travel exhaustion. Your seating position matters more than you'd think, and most people get it wrong. Flight crews are trained on what's called the 30-30-30 position, adjusting your seat so your knees, hips, and elbows each sit at roughly a 30-degree angle. That one adjustment alone can meaningfully improve circulation and cut down on stiffness during long flights. And here's a tool almost nobody's heard of: compression arm sleeves. Everyone knows about compression socks, but arm circulation matters just as much for fatigue and swelling. Look for sleeves rated between 15 and 20 millimeters of mercury, the same medical grade used by athletes for recovery. There's also an in-flight napping trick that international crews use, called the 2-cycle rest. Instead of one long nap, you take 2 separate 30-minute sleep sessions. It works with your body's natural rhythm and tends to leave you feeling more restored than one longer stretch of sleep, which often just makes you groggier. Now let me show you a digital hack that could genuinely save you thousands if you ever hit a medical emergency abroad. Because while most travelers focus on physical safety, the bigger risk is often information and access: your documents, your accounts, your ability to prove who you are and get help fast. Start by building what security experts sometimes call a travel vault, a secure, encrypted digital folder holding every essential document you might need. But don't stop at the basics. Include what's sometimes called escalation documents, pre-written letters requesting consular help, insurance intervention, or medical evacuation, phrased using the exact language that tends to trigger a faster response. Cybersecurity experts also recommend something simple: set up a dedicated email address used only for travel bookings and correspondence. It keeps your travel information separate from your main inbox, so it's easier to manage and less exposed if anything gets compromised. Here's where most travelers get their phone strategy wrong. Relying on regular cell service the whole trip is risky. Instead, pair an international eSIM with an offline authentication app, something like Authy or Google Authenticator. That way you can still get into your critical accounts even if cell service drops out entirely. And here's something a lot of people don't know. Both Android and Apple phones have a built-in medical ID feature, and emergency responders around the world are trained to check it, even on a locked phone. Taking a few minutes to fill in your conditions, medications, and emergency contacts could genuinely make a life or death difference in a country where nobody knows your history. Which brings us to maybe the most overlooked secret of all, money. Specifically, how to sidestep the fees and traps that quietly target older travelers. The banking and credit card industry makes serious money off travelers who don't know these next few things. First, spread your travel funds across multiple sources instead of relying on one card. A solid setup looks something like this: 40% on your main credit card, 30% on a backup card from a completely different bank, 20% in local cash, and the last 10% on a travel-focused card like Wise or Revolut. Here's something most people find out the hard way. Nearly every credit card quietly charges a 2 to 3% conversion fee on foreign purchases, even when the price is shown in your home currency. The fix is simple. Whenever a payment terminal asks whether you want to pay in local currency or your home currency, always choose local currency. That one choice alone can save you 3 to 5% on nearly everything you buy. Most people's approach to notifying their bank about travel is incomplete too. Don't just tell them your dates. Ask specifically for graduated authorization limits, spending thresholds that automatically adjust based on your location. It stops the frustrating situation where a completely legitimate purchase gets declined, while still keeping real fraud protection in place. And when it comes to ATMs abroad, skip the frequent small withdrawals. Estimate roughly what cash you'll need for the whole trip and pull it out in just 2 or 3 larger withdrawals instead. Flat fees add up fast, and this alone cuts down what you lose to them. But beyond every tactical hack and every senior-specific perk we've covered, there's one shift that changes how you experience travel at any age. A mindset shift that matters more than any of it. And if there's one thing seasoned, genuinely fulfilled travelers all seem to share, it's this. They see opportunity, not obstacles. Most people approach travel trying to solve problems, fix delays, avoid discomfort, control what can't be controlled. But travelers with what you could call an opportunity mindset flip that completely. When a flight gets canceled, most people feel stressed and defeated. Someone with this mindset sees a chance to explore a part of the airport they've never seen, grab an unplanned meal, or strike up a conversation with a stranger they'd never have met otherwise. This isn't about forcing positivity. It's about choosing curiosity over frustration and choosing to stay present instead of spiraling into panic. One of our viewers, a 78-year-old who travels solo, put it in a way that stuck with us. She said she doesn't really take trips anymore, she has adventures. And even when it's not what she planned, it's always worth living through. Once that mindset clicks, every trip, no matter what goes sideways, has the potential to become one of the best experiences of your life. So tell me, which one of these are you trying first on your next trip? Drop it in the comments. I genuinely love reading how you all travel smart. If this helped you out, tap that like button. It's honestly the biggest way more travelers like you find these videos. And hit subscribe with notifications on, because we've got a full lineup of insider secrets and practical tips coming your way every single week. Before you go, don't miss our video breaking down the new airline carry-on rules almost nobody's heard about yet. It could save you from some surprise fees and a real headache on your next trip.